everybody, it's me again, and Fortran. So my last video, two things. Trademark, made me heart. First thing I noticed, I started off kind of like a good energy level, and then maybe just being in my reading chair, I got like real chill. So I'm going to try and keep it upbeat. Secondly, I mentioned my goal of reading more. And so I thought I would go back and look at the books that I read from 2020. So I figured I'd give you a little bit of a review for each of them, and then top 12 books of 2020, top 12 because I only read 12. I'm glad I'm split up into 3 groups. This is not the order that I read them in. But so the books that I read, just because I kind of felt like it, was The Fred Factor, which, go back a few videos, you'll see is a professional improvement, professional self-help kind of book about how to be just like really awesome no matter what your job is. It doesn't matter, like you can bring awesomeness to it. Go back and watch that video. I talk about it much more eloquently. In October I read Frankenstein, which I never had to read for school. All I really knew about it, I had watched Young Frankenstein and a few other movies that involved Frankenstein. And then a few years ago when Benedict Cumberbatch was in, I guess it was a West End production of Frankenstein, I watched that. And that was the most accurate to the book of any of them. So often Frankenstein's monster is portrayed as, you know, a bumbling, dumb creature, green skin, ugly, everything. But in the actual book, he starts off dumb, but then his intelligence grows very quickly, although he lacks human morality. I think it has a very interesting depiction of, you sort of want to feel bad for the creature near the end, that like he never felt loved, and that, you know, his creator was very cruel to him from the very beginning, and what does that do to a person? But then, if you really think about it, he still did a bunch of really horrible things, and even after he started being able to conceive of morality and life and the importance of life, he being the creature, still didn't really, didn't get it. I don't know, I have a lot of thoughts about Frankenstein. I read The Fellowship of the Ring, which prior to this I had read The Hobbit, and I really enjoyed The Hobbit. Fellowship of the Ring, sorry you guys, it was kind of long. When I bought Fellowship of the Ring, I bought the whole trilogy, thinking I would read them, you know, back to back to back. And Fellowship of the Ring kind of made me not want to read the others, just because it was real long. I'll probably read the other 2 sometime this year. I'm just taking a little bit of a break from that. Then I also read A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green, which is the sequel to An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. And while they are, you know, 2 books in a pair and involve the same characters, the themes and the ideas are just so much bigger in A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor that it's kind of hard to believe that they go together. An Absolutely Remarkable Thing is very much an individual kind of story. It does involve a little bit of the larger society, but in general, it's one person and her friends' experience. Whereas Beautifully Foolish Endeavor is basically the whole world story with the events going on. I loved it. I also listened to that one on Audible. It's a masterpiece in and of itself, the audiobook version, with different characters, the different voices, and soundscape that's created. Lovely. Then I read Handmaid's Tale, which I knew a little bit about when I started it, based on the commercials for the Hulu series. But that's basically all I knew about it, and so it was very different from what I expected. And if you've read it, I have not seen the series, so I can't tell you if it's the same way there. But when you get to the end of the book, something weird happens. Like there's a time jump kind of thing that just caught me really off guard. Not what I was expecting, but I liked it. The next 4 are books that I read as part of a book club that I have with my sisters and my mom. We have not been great about meeting and talking about the books, but one of us will pick a book and we'll all read it around the same time. So the first one that we read was Aisha at Last. It's a modern day Pride and Prejudice set in a Muslim community in Canada, and it was great. I love Pride and Prejudice, every rendition that I've seen of it. Then we read India No More. We didn't mean to read. One of my sisters picked it out, and it came recommended to her from another person. Or like it was, I think, in an Instagram post of like must read books. Without considering that the person who was posting it was posting must read books for middle schoolers. It's a true or based on true experience of a young girl who was on a Native American reservation and then their family had to move off of it. It was okay. If you're a middle schooler, great. Then we read You Should See Me in a Crown, which is a YA novel about young, high school, black LGBT youth, her experience in high school, starting off as not popular and then getting nominated. But it's very much a high school coming of age story where like everything climaxes with the end of the year, prom. It gives a good representation of the intersectionality representation, because she's a woman, she's black, and she's in the LGBT community, and how she just goes through life as an individual. Those things don't define her, but they are part of who she is. And so as I'm editing this, I realized I forgot to mention I also read Eleanor Oliphant Is Completely Fine. It was also for book club. Yeah, it was a lot more emotional than I thought it was going to be. This book was chosen by my mom, but at the beginning of the book, it was reminding me, Eleanor was reminding me a lot of myself, and that was kind of scary. Yeah. So at a certain point in quarantine, I got an idea for a novel that would be kind of a psychological thriller. I don't know the exact name of the genre, but it's things like Girl on the Train or Gone Girl. That's not the kind of story that I normally read. I'm not particularly interested in that genre, or it wasn't before. It just wasn't my style. They scare me. They're real scary, and because they're, modern day and all of the elements are generally realistic, they could happen to me. And I don't want to think about the fact that they could happen to me, but they make me. I decided if I was going to pursue writing that story, I should read some other books in the genre to see some of the tropes, see how the level of suspense is built. I read Never Have I Ever, which is not like the Netflix series at all. I Let You Go, and The Housekeeper. I think that I want to do a whole video just on this type of story, because I still have a few more that I'm reading. But the thing that I really don't like, 2 of these, and then one that I just finished. One of the main bad guys always has to do something terrible to a cat. You may not have guessed it, but I like cats. At least mine. Occasionally, they will also do something not nice to another animal, a dog or something, which is also not great. But it seems specifically they're mean to cats, and I don't get it. and I would very much like it to stop. So I don't know. These three were pretty good. Never Have I Ever was the most different from that genre. It was never about murder. Whereas all the other ones I've been reading, the whole time you kind of feel like somebody's gonna die. I hope you liked this video. Like it if you did. Once I've read, a few more books this year, I'll make another one of these. I'm thinking quarterly for 2021 if I keep up my current reading pace. Would probably be about right. I don't like grading books. Just 'cause it's another one of those things where I don't want to quantify the book. It's would I recommend it or not, and whether I would recommend it is completely dependent on what kind of book you like to read. So, I would recommend all of these, but only to specific people. My favorite book that I read last year is probably Aisha at Last. It's mostly to do with me being predisposed to liking Pride and Prejudice books. The author did a really good job of differentiating and building out the world in a unique way that even if you haven't read Pride and Prejudice, is still really, really good, really interesting. One of my sisters in the book club had never read Pride and Prejudice before, and I think, if I recall correctly, she really enjoyed it. So, like this video if you liked it. If you have any recommendations for books that I should read in 2021, maybe they're coming out this year, or maybe they came out whenever Frankenstein came out. I'm not great at being up on the latest reading trends, so there's a good chance whatever your favorite book is, I haven't read it yet. Leave your recommendations down in the comments below, and I will see you soon. I hope. Good night, sweet dreams.